was a big part of her social life.
Oh yeah, all their friends were surrounded by the veterans, and it was just a great place for them.
We went many times for dinner and lunch with Grandma to the Veterans of Foreign Wars buffet or a luncheon, a Chinese restaurant in that building, and she loved to take us there. Even when I first knew them before we were married, and for several years afterward, that was a treat to go there. But she had, she was a woman, even though Grandma and Grandpa never owned a home in their entire life. So Uncle Jim never lived in anything but a rented home.
Yeah, that my dad would not, after he got out of it, and enjoy life for yourselves. And he would not have anything, he would cut me off very verbally and very fast. Closest he ever got to being injured is his radio in front of him, which is a great big massive radio, was shot out in front of him by a German aircraft. And with Ralph, he ended up with a Purple Heart, but amazingly, he embarrassingly told us how he got the Purple Heart. And it's when they were in a backward rest area and they were playing volleyball, and he got hit in the nose by an elbow of some guy, and he started bleeding. And his CO was on the team also, and he insisted on putting him in for a Purple Heart because they were in a combat zone, and so if you get injured in a combat zone, you qualify for a Purple Heart. So he got the Purple Heart, which in fact turned out to be a wonderful thing for him because as he grew older and had the Culver-Deering stigma of bad hearts, and his heart went bad.
My dad,
but because he had had a Purple Heart, he got first precedence to
weddings or
the
funerals
hospital.
for 50 or 60 years. But at the same
And
time,
he would not have anything, he would cut me off very verbally and very fast. And threaten me, I'll dump the stable on you, keep talking like that. And so he would shut me up. He knew how to shut me up.
He'd blow his top, right?
Oh, you bet he would. He'd really blow his top. But he died, and your mother and I were going to have to pay for Graham because she had not.
Grandma.
Are we getting this right?
She had not worked much, and so she was going to get just a meager amount of Social Security. I can't remember now what it was going to be. It was like $60 a month or $50 a month or something. And my dad's retirement or Navy retirement pay for the whole time after he was 65 was $18 a month from having served in the Navy for 16 years total.
Oh my God.
So that's how it used to be. But anyway, and when my dad died, your mom and I had to figure out how the heck we were going to support Grandma. And we pretty much, she had a little tiny bit of money saved by then, not, then I'm tiny amount. Mom and I had to figure out how the heck we were going to support Grandma. And we pretty much, she had a little tiny bit of money saved by then, not, then I'm tiny amount, maybe $2,000, $3,000. And that wasn't going to carry her very long. And about 6 months after he died, here comes this landman knocking on the door. And where they had never had an income of $500 a month, never, between the two of them, their combined jobs. This landman came along, wanted to lease a property to start drilling for gas and oil on it. What they were really drilling for was gas. But suddenly when they got down there, they realized there was a little bit of oil also. So the original wells were primarily gas wells, and they had a residual of oil. And Mother went from this $500 down to maybe less than $100 of her own income to $2,000 a month. Just almost instantaneous. She lived very, very well her last years. She was in a semi-retirement community for a long time. She didn't like that very much. And, so she moved from there to... When I was growing up, I didn't get away with any antics there. As long as I towed the line, we were fine. But he made me go to work early. And first of all, I used to mow the lawn, which is no problem. I should have been doing that. But in the summertime when school was out, when I was, very young, probably 5th or 6th grade, he'd say, "Well, have you gotten any more lawn mowing jobs today?" And I said, no. He said, well, you get out there tomorrow and you go knock on some of these doors. You see that line?
That's what milk, eggs, and everything else spoiled pretty quickly.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
A detail like an ice box like that.
Yeah, and so we would go to the store. She'd send me to the store with a nickel, and I'd buy a quart of milk, and it'd last. She'd skim the top of it off, which the cream was on top of the milk in those days. It wasn't homogenized, and so she'd have cream for coffee or cream for making whipped cream or anything for dessert.
People be calling him to wonder if when I was gonna come back and mow the lawn again. And I had no intentions of going back. I was already rich by quarter. So he made sure I did that, and when during World War II,
In 1943, there was a big supermarket, Miller's Supermarket, up the street, just the other end of the block from us on Colfax Ave. And he said, Jim, go up there and get a job. Talk to the manager, get a job. There's a sacker up there. And I'd go up and talk to the manager, and he'd say, "No, Jim, you're
My
too young,
grandparents
too
on
young.
my mother's
Come in here." Dad would come home. Say, "Well, did you talk to him?" And I'd say, "Yeah." He said, "Well, what did he say?" I'd say, "He says I'm too young." He says, "You go back there tomorrow and talk to him. Tell him you're young enough. You're not too young. You can handle that." Because again, remember, he started punching cows when he was 6 years old or 7 years old and could ride a horse. So age was not a very big deal to him, as it isn't in most third world countries today. And